You will never guess what came out of this wild, wet weekend. She was a beauty. Little creek that runs down the base of our property is flowing very fast and rising as we speak. This tree, this morning I went by just to do a drive-by to see what the back of the property looked like, and I saw this smaller branch down. And we went, okay, it hasn't damaged the fence. Yeah, not too bad. Then I thought, I'll bring the camera. We got down here and to our surprise, all of that tree came down. Did a snappage. When Craig built this fence, he did a smart thing. He built it in sections so that way if ever the trees did come down or there was damage, it was easily replaced. When we get notified of a possible weather event, our first instinct, if you like, is to run inside and hide. Close up everything so we just don't have to look because the place can get so muddy. But we can't do that because these big guys need to be prepped as well. To protect them from the elements, there's a whole routine that we need to go through. And that begins with the feed up. That begins with oiling. We start from their feather and we get a syringe full of coconut oil and we put that through right down into, I can part the feather as best as we can. The syringe has a little nozzle on it and we go right down and get as close to the skin as we possibly can. And we're trying to get the oil right onto the skin. So that way their skin is actually protected from the rain, like the moisture. The oil will eventually be on all their feather as well. So what happens is the rain comes down, and of course oil and water don't mix. So the water just runs off, protecting their skin, keeping their skin moisturised, and so it doesn't get too wet. Because once the skin gets too wet, then it's going to potentially get what they call mud fever, and bacteria enters into the skin and causes their little lumps and sores and scaly bits, and yeah, so it's quite awful for them. So we oil their skin. It ends up on the feather as well, so it protects their feather and their skin, and that's how we start to prepare them and to protect them in case of these, yeah. Oh, ow! That's a foot. Excuse me?
So just any old oil will do?
Coconut oil. Coconut oil. You're getting bored. You've been tied up for a while. Yeah, coconut oil is what we use. The nice, fatty coconut oil, because that's the good stuff to protect. Yeah.
And it's antibacterial too?
Antibacterial, antifungal, all the anti we can get is what coconut oil is. It's good for everything. So we just use coconut oil. You can put other stuff into it, but weather we don't. We just want to protect them.
So is that a weather event over there now?
Yeah, like a weather event. Teddy P.
He just finished washing his feather and he pees and splashing the time with his feather.
That's Teddy.
The This morning on the Sunrise Early News, collision course. Cyclone Alfred makes a beeline for the coast. 4 million people bracing for impact. Preparation panic, sandbag scuffles as supermarkets scramble to restock.
Somehow, it missed us. It went all the way around. And we were very thankful because it didn't promise anything good. It just looked pretty awful. And south of us got hit pretty hard. 2 weeks later, Alfred's love child turned up. Unannounced, uninvited, unnamed. We had a massive rain event. And we got probably, in metric, 300 to 400 mils over a couple of days. And this is the result.
Well, you needed another job.
Oh, yeah. What am I now? A lopper.
Ah,
I could be a lopper.
you could be a tree fella.
A tree fella.
Yeah.
All right, but I didn't fell it.
You had a hand.
I could be the cleaner-upperer of the tree fella. Firewood, but it's very green.
Couple of years, it can sit there then.
Yeah,
Try out.
but I was happy not to have more firewood.
We have plenty because we don't really need firewood.
No. We have a fire and we live in Queensland, which is warm all the time. Figure that one out.
You know the thing that I'm most bummed about?
What?
Yes, the fence is broken. Boo, ants, bugs. It's broken, and yes, we have to fix it. Well, you have to fix it.
Convenient.
But this tree, this beautiful big tree, get my balance here, was the tree that gave the horses the most shade in this bottom paddock along the bottom fence line here, because this is where they would like to stand when it was hot. Through the middle of the day, they would stand at the bottom fence line here and have a little bit of a sleep. And this tree gave them all the shade they needed, so they were nice and cool. But now they're open to the bright sky. So they've lost their shade on the bottom paddock here.
The electric fence, it's done pretty well, actually. It's a bit stretchy.
It's
But-
just stretched itself. You'll see how some of those posts, the tree has jammed those posts down even further.
Yeah. But even so, this is a big tree, as big as they get by any stretch. But it's a big tree. You can see the trunk's pretty heavy duty. But even so, the fence, I reckon, stood up pretty well. This is a fence that we built, 3-4 years ago? 5 years ago?
At least 4 years ago.
Yeah. It's got some damage here. We'll replace that. That's no big deal. And we've got to sort out this wire. That'll be a bit of a pain, but anyway. What we choose to see is the massive amount of rain was a massive shower of blessings.
Amen.
So now we just got to push on, clean up the mess.
Got lots of work to do.
Yeah,
We better get to it.
let's go.
Is it a blunt chain this time? Or a sharp?
No, I'm not going to make that mistake.
Again, you mean?
Yeah, it's a nice Sharpie. But if I had a blunt one, I'd be here forever with this. So all I'm going to do is chop all the green stuff
Yeah.
and leave the heavier timber for firewood. When we built the fence, We put so much timber in it, we said, oh, the end of the world will come, and after the 1,000 years we'll come back down. The New Jerusalem will come from heaven, and there'll be a fence still standing in Pomona. Well, didn't have too much to knock part of it down. For those who are interested, this is a really good little saw. It's still. It's a fine finishing blade, so we'll use it for all the fencing. But it's electric. The only pain is that you don't get all day out of it. You've got to keep charging the battery. But if you have another battery, that's not so bad though. You just keep swapping. But it's quite light, and it cuts pretty well, as you can see. It's a Still MSA 200C, good little saw. Still, if you're listening, I won't say no. That was unpaid too, by the way. So this is the trusty old trailer. Oh, workhorse. She's done a lot of work for us, this girl. I don't know why blokes always call trailer girls.
Yeah.
Anyway. Picked up the carriage that we drive. Numerous trips to get the hay. And then we often fill it with rubbish that we collect from around the place and take to the tip. This is a load that we've just built up over the past few days. And as you would have seen in the previous clip, the boys loading the trailer with branches and things. We brought the trailer up and just like this, it stayed here overnight. Well, the following day, took off down to the tip and started peeling away the branches from the back. And then all of a sudden, I stopped. There was this thing right in front of me. And it wasn't a pleasant thing. It was a thumping big python. Now, I hate snakes at the best of times. 10 inches of glass is not enough distance between me and the snake. So you can imagine that when it's that far and there's nothing between us, this shiver went through me. I can still feel it, the shiver going up my spine. So the first thing I did was step back and I walked past the car where Nick was sitting in the front seat and I said, there's a thumping big python in the front of the trailer.
You didn't walk, you ran.
Okay. I hastened past the front door and there's a thumping big python. Now, I said the front of the trailer, but it was right in front of me. I went over to where the guys were who are taking care of that particular area of the tip and I said, I've got an unwanted visitor. And they said, snake? Yep, sure enough. It was a snake because they'd had one there only a few days previous. So the guy came over and we started peeling. I'm pretty nervous around them because I just don't trust them. I'm peeling off the bits of branches and twigs and sticks and whatever. And eventually we get to the point where the snake had worked its way all the way to the bottom of the trailer and it was now empty but for a few logs. So the guy said, we'll go over the back there and we'll empty the snake and the last logs into the bush there so the snake can go. And as far as I'm concerned, never to be seen again. So the good news is we are one snake less. Because for me, even though they say that some snakes are good snakes, I don't like any of them. Now, apparently as far as beauty goes, this one was pretty spectacular. And when you think about the Garden of Eden, when the snakes used to fly, what we understand is that they were spectacular. So it appears as though this one had just shed its skin and it was actually gaining some cover from the branches and things from the sun so that its skin could harden up before it got hit. It suffers from climate change too, I guess. So that was it. The snake had gone. And so I'm very thankful for that. But on the way home, Nick goes, That was really clever of you. Clever? What was clever about that? She said, you got the council to help you unload the trailer. You planted that snake, didn't you? Anyway, there's a tip for you. If you've got a trailer full of rubbish and you want to get the council to help you, put a snake in the back and then tell them you've got an unwanted visitor and you just might get some help. So, it may seem like a bit of a waste of time, but it's something that I have to do. The ground here dries pretty hard, so when it gets a decent amount of rain, it goes super soft, very slippery, and the horse's hoof digs in quite a way. So if I was to let that stay that way and then dry out, I'd have lumps everywhere. It'd just be lump city. So I don't want that because it can easy to twist an ankle for us and for them. So I just give it a quick level out. This thing's pretty good, does a real quick job. And if I do it that way, it just makes it, once I come back again, probably today, up almost perfect surface again. And then we probably won't get another big rain like that for hopefully it should be a few months, but at least that whilst it is dry, it's a good surface and we're not doing any risk of damage to horse legs, human legs, any legs, frogs' legs, just legs.
The care of Clydesdales at the best of times is a big task. When mud enters the equation, the job grows significantly. Their flowing manes and long leg feather require constant attention to keep them in top condition. Not only does mud look unsightly, failing to remove it can damage the feather, and in some cases, if left to dry, can cause it to break. Thick mud, if left, can also have adverse consequences on the skin, ultimately creating the perfect environment for troublesome mites. These beautiful creatures are not for the faint of heart. However, time well spent caring for them is always rewarded with the satisfaction of a beautifully presented animal who has the capacity and temperament to reward your effort with loads of unconditional love.
What are you doing?
I have become a stark, raving lunatic. The ground is drenched and slop, and I'm hosing.
So what, you were afraid it was about to dry out?
I didn't want it to dry out too quick, you know. I'm sure people who drive fast and see me hosing it with a thumping big hose think I've gone nuts.
So seriously, why are you doing that? Because it's saturated, where it's mud.
So it's two reasons. Firstly is I'm wanting to clean the blades off from dirt so they can breathe and not get smothered. So that when the sun comes, if the sun ever comes back, the process of, and this is my botanical understanding, the process of photosynthesis.
Your uneducated scientific research?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. I have a lot of that. That the sun can photosynthesize with greater effectivity. You like that word?
Effectivity.
Effectivity. Than what would otherwise be the case.
Right.
Now,
For all of those who think I'm wrong, or probably more the point, who know I'm wrong, hold your breath, hold your fingers.
You don't want to see it in the comments?
Don't burst my bubble.
Instead, encourage him.
That's right. Tell me to come out and hose the slop again. The other reason is that the heavier stream tends to just fill in any gaps. So I'm almost using the water as a rake.
Oh.
Yes, I'm back to raking.
Is that
Raking with water.
raking with water? Interesting.
So there is actually a third reason.
Oh.
The third reason is at least so I can come to the fence and look over here and it doesn't look totally brown. I don't feel so discouraged.
You see a bit of green and you think, oh, it's not so bad.
Not so bad now. Whereas before I came down here and it was a brown paddock.
And you were weeping.
No, bawling my eyes out. But at least now I go, oh, I can look from a distance and see tinges of green rather than hues of brown.
Let me see. There's a fraction of green in between all of that water and mud and slop. Anyway, enjoy that, won't you?
Yeah, great. Hey, I'm out here fighting the fire with fire. So, I've got to say, that was a really sloppy video.
Sloppery.
Oh, sloppery. The old slippy sloppy.
Yeah.
I reckon people, if they listen to our videos, they'll come up with a whole new vocab.
Yeah, the right dictionary.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's what it can be.
You'll be noticed, not for the right reasons, but you will be noticed. But we hope we don't have to bring another one of those to you, because
Time soon anyway. I am so over the mud and the rain, the wet, the slop, the sloppery, the
everything, even the it's just not good. So if you're feeling so inclined, we'd love to receive your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Prayers are absolute must. We need all the prayers that we can get
For sure.
to keep being encouraged, because boy, we're struggling.
Yeah. And if you've got a little bit left over from your bread and milk, we wouldn't mind some of that as well.
What, bread and milk?
No. I mean, yes, but no. A little bit of financial assistance, if you can afford it, would be so appreciated.
We're real new to this. We don't know really. We're quite awkward asking for donations.
That sounded really awkward too.
I am awkward.
Yep.
That's me, awkward.
Yeah. So I guess it's my turn to say, make sure you subscribe.
Oh,
That little button,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be here or there.
well there.
That tells you to subscribe,
Yeah.
or if it's down there. But please subscribe. Give us that thumbs up.
And
Ring that bell.
Oh yeah, make sure you ring it, definitely.
Yeah.
But can you please share the channel with all your friends, family and community, and help the YouTube algorithm keep pushing these videos up and into everybody's feeds? That would be awesome.
Be fantastic.
Would be.
So therefore, nothing much left to say except may his love be known.
And his grace be shown. I was going to actually say that first, the other way around.
Got in first.
May his grace be known.
No, that's wrong.
I did it. I did the blooper. May his love be known.
And his grace be shown. Very good.
Seriously, that's what I was. I thought, yeah, I've got this. And I'm
So you didn't even do it intentionally, correct?
and
Well, fun.